Hi, I have a new topic today for my M.L.M for the Soul YouTube channel. And if you've never checked out my channel before or you want to know what this is all about, please do watch my first video because it'll explain more in detail what it's all about. And before I actually tell you what the topic is today, I want to say that may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart be accepted and find favor before you, Hashem, my Lord, my strength, my Redeemer, my protector, my guide, my Father. And I also want to thank some other people who've really been a light for me on my journey. And I will have links to their sites below: Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Shalom Arush, Rabbi Lazer Brody, and Rabbi Eli Mansour. So the topic for this particular video is called, So You Think You're Modest? Well, think again. Kind of cute, huh? Well, how did I come up with this? Well, you may watch TV. I actually don't anymore. And if you've seen one of my videos, I'm giving a hint already to what that was related to. It's one of my previous videos. But there was a show on TV called So You Think You Can Dance. So I'm kind of taking it, lahavdil, like flipping it over and saying, so you think you're modest. And if you think about that show, it's totally not modest. If you watch it for 1 second, it'll totally like wipe out everything. Your soul will take in all this kind of toxic input that it doesn't really need, and it's not going to benefit. Again, one of my things that I use as a kind of a scale for whether I should do something or read something is this really going to benefit me in the end? Is this really going to do anything for me? When I go up to Hashem and He judges me, is He going to say, oh, you were watching that wonderful dance show with all those half-naked people. Wow, that's great. You know, it's not going to matter. So what matters is that we do the right thing for Hashem. So when it comes to modesty, modesty is a big thing, especially for women. And women have a lot of challenges with it. And I'm not saying I'm not included. And I wasn't always dressing as modestly as I ought to, and I understand, and there are actually pretty severe punishments. I'm not really aware of the details, but if you want to, Rabbi Mizrahi will definitely fill you in if you really want to know where the sources are and all about that. You can definitely contact him, and if you really want to learn the harsh reality of it, then that's a good place to find out. So, but for me, I know that that's really important, and I definitely keep that in the forefront. And it's not just modesty with clothing, although that is definitely a big part, because when people look at you and they see you dressed a certain way, they start having, I guess, ideas or thoughts in their mind about things, and that's not a good thing if you cause that to happen. And I'm sure over the years when I wasn't dressing modestly, I was doing that, and I can't go back now and try to find all those people who I've done that to, and I'm just hoping that Hashem will forgive me because I have repented. I am doing better. Now, when it comes to clothes, we have to only talk about not just, you're wearing clothing and, maybe you like to wear more colorful, and that's also can attract people's attention. And I have a hard time with that as well, too. I like colorful clothes. So that's something I have to work on. But the other part of clothes is you can wear like the longest blouse, like I'm wearing a long sleeve blouse, and you can wear the longest skirt. But if it's so tight, then that defeats the purpose because you are actually able to see the curvatures of the body, and you're not supposed to see that. You're actually better off wearing loose sweatpants and a loose sweatshirt. That's actually going to be more tznius. I don't know if the Torah would say that, but I'm saying as far as that you're not attracting attention. So you can think you're really a Torah observant Jew and doing everything right, and you do all other things perfect, or you think you are, and then you dress what you think of as modest, but it's very tight. So that really defeats the purpose. That is like really kind of ridiculous because you're attracting the attention of people because they can see the curvature of your body. So that is an issue right there. The other part that is kind of funny for me when I see sometimes in shul is people that their dress is long, it'll cover their knee, and they wear a hat, and yet they're wearing short sleeves. Well, what are you doing? You're exposing your arms. People don't think that that's an issue. You're supposed to be covered at least to right cover your elbow. And, back in, gosh, I think it was the 20s, I was looking online with how people dressed. And, unless you were doing some kind of these clubs where they dress differently. But most of the people of all types, not just Jews, were dressed full on modest. Like you couldn't believe, from head to toe. They actually were more covered than me. I mean, their neck, you couldn't see anything. They're total closed up, and their skirts were down to the floor, and their sleeves on their arm, whatever they were wearing, they're completely covered. Amazing. I was looking at some pictures of, I think it was during the time of the early days of baseball, and you see the way the people were dressed. They were dressed so modest. The men too. They wore hats. They wore suits and ties, and wow, you probably couldn't tell those days who was Jewish and who was not, because everyone was dressed so modestly. To them that was how they dressed, and they were dressed beautifully too. It wasn't just that they were modest, they actually were dressed so elegantly. I'm kind of jealous. I like the elegant clothes that they were wearing. Nowadays, anything goes, as you say. I mean, people are dressed where you could practically see through their clothes. That's how bad it is. That just shows you the level of the people, how it's really gotten to a really bad state, and it just shows you the state of our world, how that's what people are thinking. Oh, it's my freedom and my right to do what I want and dress this way, and you can't tell me. Well, okay, maybe for the people who aren't Jewish, but for the Jewish people, the Torah, I mean, always the women who lived during the times of the Bible, and again, this is not a history book or a storybook, this is our instructional book of how to live. We see that they dressed modestly, they acted modestly, they talked modestly. Everything they did was in a modest way. They never did anything that was against that. And that's such an important thing. And again, also our interactions with people. You could be dressed modestly, but then you talk a little more not so properly, or you talk too much. And we're supposed to learn how to say less is better. Not be so friendly with people, because that's not considered modesty. So that's important as well. And modesty can also be about us looking to other things that maybe we shouldn't be looking at that aren't modest. So because then we're taking in information and having to process it, and our soul doesn't really need that information. It's not doing us any good. So the less we can have that input put into us. That's why TV is such a, thing that's not really in place, that does us any good. It's not like the TV channels are all about Torah and the great rabbis and tzaddikim that can teach us things. They don't have channels like that on TV. Although on the internet you can find lots of channels like that with Chabad and different sites that are really great, that you can learn a lot from. So that would be a better focus. So getting back to clothing, I know it's hard for a lot of people. A lot of people have grown up just dressing the way they feel like dressing and not understanding what the Torah says. And I myself, again, I'll just reiterate that I strayed myself and did things, I guess, my own way. But really in life there's no my own way. It's Hashem's way. The Torah is, Hashem gave it to us to follow. It's not like we can all of a sudden decide, well, I don't feel like doing this, so I'm just going to do what I want. Well, it's not how it works. If you're part of the Jewish nation, then Am Yisrael, then you have to live the life according to the way Hashem wants it, even if you don't like it, because that's what we're supposed to do, because in the end we will be rewarded. The end is in the next world. So to just have, your pleasure now and say, oh, well, I just want to wear a string bikini on the beach, well, you're going to be sinning so many more times. Bad enough if, let's say, you wear it in the house. And we'll talk about that in a second, how inside there's also modesty in your home as well as outside. So you're going to cause a lot of sinning to happen because other people will look at you and have bad thoughts. So that's not the important part of our life. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be exposing ourselves in that way. Now, when I was saying about inside the house, so what people don't know is that there are spirits that are always flying around, and we might not be able to see them, But for one, there are people who can, and then also animals. They can see things we can't see. So you may think that in your home, oh, nobody can see me because my doors are closed, my shades are closed. Well, maybe no one outside that's physically alive can see you, but the spirits can, and Hashem has, eyes that can see, quote unquote, and ears that can hear. So everything is recorded, and everything will be revealed to you when you go to the next world. So even in your home, and what I learned, something really key is but what about when you get undressed? Even when you get undressed, you have to be modest. So what I try to do is when I'm wearing a skirt and I'm putting on my stuff for going to sleep is I'll put it under my skirt, and then with my shirt I'll try to cover myself slightly on top, and then put the other part on so that I'm not uncovering myself. Even in the bathroom, the bathroom where you do what you have to do, and then you're supposed to be modest. The shower is different, of course. You're taking a shower. That's a different story. But even in the bathroom, so you're not supposed to expose yourself, and you're supposed to always show some modesty in how you do things, even inside. So it's not just to the outside world; it's actually inside as well. So you have to keep that in mind. Now, I wanted to share with you from the Tehillim. This is actually chapter or Perek Kuf Memhe 145. It's the one that we say that's actually from the Tehillim that we say with Ashrei, and it talks about how man is obligated to praise Hashem's providential provision of the needs of every living creature. So one thing I wanted to share with you, one pasuk, it's pasuk Yud Zayin, and it goes like this: Tzadik Hashem b'chol drachav v'chasid b'chol ma'asav. Righteous is Hashem in all his ways and magnanimous in all his deeds. So what does this mean? How can he be righteous and magnanimous? So what he's saying is that Hashem judges people only according to their deeds. Nevertheless, even when justice calls for grievous punishment, he is magnanimous in softening the blow. And this is according to the Vilna Gaon. So what does that mean is, okay, so if you're having a hard time being modest, you try, but you kind of slip a little, you will deserve some kind of reckoning for that, but Hashem will go gentle on you. Now, the other part of reward that we learn is that none of us really knows how much reward we're getting for the mitzvah that we're doing. We may be gathering a lot for one and we don't know, and for the other maybe it's not as much, but we do know that if it's harder for you to overcome and you work hard on bettering yourself, let's say a certain mitzvah you have a hard time doing, like let's say modesty, and you keep trying and you sometimes slip, your reward will be greater because it is much harder for you to overcome, the temptation to not be modest. So if you understand that, so yes, your reward will be harder. But the same thing is that Hashem is always willing to accept you to do better. And meaning his acceptance is that, yes, he's always open to you bettering yourself, to you doing better, to doing more mitzvahs, to improving your character. So it's never that just because, let's say, all these years you haven't been dressing modest, that it's gonna, you're not gonna be able to, get anything back. Well, in a certain way, yes, all the time that you missed being modest, you can't get that back, but you can start from where you're at and do your best. Work on, especially if you wear tight clothes, stop wearing tight clothes. Maybe wear a looser top, and then that could be underneath. Like if you do a double layer, where some people wear they have a short sleeve shirt and they wear a long sleeve underneath. So wear the tighter one underneath and the looser one on top. So that's better. And and start making sure that your skirts cover at least a couple inches below the knee, because if you sit down, it could rise up. So it's just really interesting when you see people that from your synagogue that they're pretty they're the kind of people where you wouldn't expect them to be dressed as modestly as not modestly, and these are people that are pretty well respected in your community, and you're kind of surprised and you don't understand, and it's hard to go over to them and say, well, do you realize that your shirt is too low cut and you could see practically everything? It's so funny because this one woman said to me the other day, because I was wearing a long sleeve blouse and she wasn't. She was wearing shorts, pretty short sleeves, and she said something about being hot, something about like, oh, because you're wearing so much clothes. And I was thinking, well, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Women are supposed to be wearing more clothes, meaning they're supposed to be covered up. Even a man, for a man to walk around in like without a shirt on and shorts and stuff is not immodest either. I mean, then women could be looking at him, so that is not a good idea either. But I just got a kick out of what that woman said, that, well, you're wearing a lot of clothes. We are supposed to be covered up at least to our elbows, so that's important. And women that are married are supposed to have their hair covered, which this person didn't either. And it's not that she doesn't know. And I almost felt like saying something to her, but I just chose to just leave it be. There were some other people there, so I just didn't say anything. So anyway, getting back to modesty, if you're sincere and you really try hard and you really want to do this, then, Hashem will accept it. But you have to do it and not say, oh, well, tomorrow, I'll go shopping tomorrow and I'll stop wearing those tight jeans or something tomorrow. But you have to do it now. Once you know already, it's like Hashem's not going to accept your change if you say, I'll do it. I know it, but I can't do it now. I don't have the money for it or whatever. That's not going to help you out. The time is now, because that is a big part of women in Judaism. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to show ourselves, but in an appropriate manner. So that's very important. So I hope this shed some light for you on my perspective on modesty. And, if you're having some hard times with being modest, take it one step at a time. Start looking through your wardrobe. And, don't attach yourself anymore to things that you own. Oh, I can't give this up. This is my favorite blouse, but it is so tight and so sheer, and so this is totally against the Torah. So it's like, it's not going to matter. Get rid of it. Give it away. Find another home for it. Use it as a dust rag. You might think that's a little crazy, but it has to. You have to let it go. You have to do what's right. You have to start now. And don't forget, right now we're in the month of Elul. It's the Sunday, August. Today's August the 11th. It's the 5th day of Elul. So next month is Rosh Hashanah. So it's time now to start doing a New Year's resolutions, lahavdil, but for Rosh Hashanah, for the Jewish New Year, and start saying, well, from today, I'm going to start going through my closet. I'm going to get rid of my jeans and my shorts and my tight this and my tight that I shouldn't be wearing, and I'm going to start getting rid of that stuff and start only wearing what I'm supposed to. And the other thing I wanted to mention, which I didn't earlier, is when I started to get back into wearing like more feminine, because that's the other part of it. For women, when you wear pants and jeans and shorts, it's so masculine. That's what men wear. It takes away from your femininity, and I figure you're not acting like a woman. A woman is supposed to dress in women's clothing. And I don't care if they make jeans for women and shorts for women and all that stuff. That's not my point. My point is you feel so much different when you dress like a woman. And I remember a teacher of mine saying to me, you should start wearing more skirts and dresses. It's more open. The energy is more flowing. And I like that concept, and she isn't even a Jewish person, so, but I liked how she said it, so I was saying, let me try this, and when I started wearing more skirts and stuff like that, I started to really like how I felt, and it made me feel a different way, and, no matter your shape or your size, forget about that, but just dressing that way, you feel different, and I liked it, and then from then on, that's what I would wear all the time. Maybe sometimes it wasn't as long as it's supposed to be, but I got the message that, this is, and then I realized that when I see women you know, not even Jewish women, but just women in general who are wearing like pantsuits and kind of jeans and stuff. And they could be very pretty and like models, like gorgeous. But to me, they don't have that femininity. They're not dressed like in beautiful clothing that were meant for women. So that's the other part of it I wanted to say, that try that out too, because I think you'll feel different. You'll have a different feeling for yourself. And that's important too. So I want to thank you for watching. And I will have hopefully another new video soon.